Hello and welcome. We are excited this week to talk about employment law. But before we do, I just want to show you my t-shirt. You see, I am actually right now attending HealthCon 2022, which is AAPC's national conference. It is the American Academy of Professional Coders, and this is their annual big everybody gets to come nationwide. And since COVID, a lot of these conferences, including this one, have been offered virtually. So we miss the networking, the person-to-person aspect, but no travel, no hotel, no time off, no time off from work necessarily. And you still get great education and CEUs, continuing education units, which once you get your national certification will help you keep your national certification and you won't ever have to take the test again. Yes. Okay. So I just wanted to show you that. And one of the advantages to going to a conference, learning all of these things from working professionals from all over, is so fascinating. And you know, I have been in this business for a long time, and I just want to tell you that even with as much as I know, I always learn something from attending these conferences, and that's really important. Also, when you can attend, you know, these are your future employers. You never know what opportunities may come up from attending one of these conferences. And as a student, you can volunteer to work with the conference. This year, it's both on ground and virtual. But if it's in an area close to you geographically, you can volunteer to work. And a lot of times when you volunteer and work the conference, you can also attend the sessions for free. And of course, being a student member of AAPC will contribute to that opportunity. So I just wanted to let you know, this is why I am dressed and ready. The conference started Sunday. It continues through tomorrow, but I took time out for you guys. Okay. All right. Priorities in order. All right, so let's talk about workplace legalities, because this is very important. And you need to know this if you are the manager of the HIM department or the coders, in particular, coders and billers. You might decide to open your own coding and billing company. And when you are an employee, it is important for you to know the legalities so you can stand up for your own rights. So when you're the manager and part of the administration of a facility, you are required to protect your employees' rights. When you are an employee, you are required to stand up for your own rights. And when you own the company, all of the above, because when you own the company, as they say, the buck stops here. There's nowhere else to go. Okay, so the first law I wanted you to be aware of is the doctrine of corporate negligence. And again, in connection with all three of those roles, you're the manager, you're the owner, you're the employee. Okay, the facility, the corporation, the organization can be held liable for the competence or mostly incompetence of their staff. So not only is it ethical and moral and right for you to make sure that each one of your staff members is accurate, is doing a good job, you must remember that you are responsible, you are liable, which means you get to go to court too. Okay. This is protecting the entire facility, as well as protecting your staff, as well as protecting your patients. This is really very important that you understand this, especially if you have a desire to open your own billing and coding company and be independent. But also as a manager, it's not just what the staff member does. You can't just say, oh, that person made this mistake, we'll fire her or put her on suspension or whatever. Everybody has to jointly and legally is jointly responsible for the job you do. And remember, we have laws that protect the submission of claims, which means you have additional responsibilities. And of course, there are multiple laws, but this is one. The doctrine of corporate negligence is one that sometimes gets pushed off. And actually, I know of a certification exam where this was one of the questions. I'm just okay. All right. The Equal Employment Opportunity Act, a federal law that requires, regulates, watches over hiring and firing of individuals to make sure that hiring is legitimate and firing is legitimate. And it is not based on race, gender, or age. So you can't fire somebody because they're old. Now, in order to comply with this law, everything must be, what's our middle name? Documented, right? We're medical coders. If it's not documented, it didn't happen. Okay. In this particular instance, if it's not documented, people can accuse you of whatever they want. Okay. The fact is that it's not in your best interest to hire somebody just because what neighborhood they come from, or what their name is, or anything. And this is very, 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 very important, that you only hire people because of their competence, because you've done due diligence on their credentials and their skills, and you can prove that. How can you prove that? Give them a coding test, require certification. Okay. Now, that is a very detailed thing about hiring. Okay. Which is also one of the reasons why you should not put your picture on your resume. And don't accept resumes that have pictures on them. But again, you have to have a rule and never break it, because the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission will come into your facility and do an intense investigation if there's an accusation. And I have heard it described as a colonoscopy without any anesthesia. Okay. The documentation must be equally complete with regard to firing any individuals. You have to make sure that you are firing for cause, even if it's within their 90 days and the agreement is that you can fire them for any reason. The fact is you want to document everything. Okay, everything. And if somebody does something wrong and you bring them into your office and you have a little conversation with them and you don't want to penalize them, there still should be a note in their employment file. And the reason for this is we never know what the future will bring. Never. So this might be a one and only, a one and only thing. It might be a Okay, sorry. It might be this staff member becomes the perfect staff member ever on the planet, okay? Or it might be the first of multiple infractions. And when you get to that point where you really need to fire this person, and I'm sorry, but yes, nobody likes to fire anybody, but sometimes you have to do it because you are in charge of, responsible for the integrity of what your department does or what your organization does. Okay? Document, 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 document. All right, the next is the Occupational Safety and Health Act. And this is an employer law that has to do with the environment, the physical environment in which your staff members work. Okay. Obviously, if you're working remotely, it's not an issue. Okay. This has to do with making sure that every staff member has a safe environment in which to function and do their job. This is so incredibly important. Isn't that what you expect when you go to work? That you're not going to have to worry about sitting down on your chair and the caster falls out and you fall and hit your head? Isn't that what you expect? You expect a safe place to work. Okay. That's why they put the cones when they mop the floor. It has to do with everything, the air, the sharps box, everything. And it's important that you make sure that your physical space, if you are having your staff work in your physical space, you have to make sure that your physical space and everything provided by the facility is safe and ensures a healthy place for employment to work. Now, if this is something that interests you, and I find it fascinating, okay? OSHA.gov, they have a special section for healthcare staff members. And it is incredible. I mean, and you know, now since the pandemic, you're familiar with PPE, right? Personal protective equipment. That's the masks and the hats and the gowns and the whole kit and caboodle, okay? Typically, it doesn't affect us in the Health Information Management Department. Make sure that it doesn't affect you in the Health Information Management Department if you have your people in your facility. Okay? All right. ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, not ADA, the American Dental Association. This, what an incredible law this is. And it amazes me that we had to pass this law. This protects people with disabilities. And for the most part, we're talking about physical disabilities, but the fact is, this is any disability, so that they can have jobs and provide their own income instead of being on welfare, which makes a whole lot of sense to me. Now, the one exception to this is if the disability directly affects the job responsibilities. Okay. However, I want you to think carefully and discuss with the candidate. Or, you know, this is what the job responsibilities are. Do you have a way of doing this? Can you type even though you don't have a right hand? I would say it better than that. But my point is that you want to give this individual the opportunity to give to the community, to give to the industry. And why not? My uncle and my aunt both had polio. And nothing stopped. My uncle was on crutches from the time he was a small child. I think he contracted polio when he was 3 or 4 years old, something like that. He was on crutches for his whole life. And in New York, I mean, he would go up and down the subway steps on his crutches faster than I could run. And he drove a car that was specially, and the fact is that he was an accountant, and thank goodness, he was able to earn a living and not live on welfare. Who wants that? Good people don't want to live on welfare. They want to be productive members of society. And to deny an individual's skills to your organization just because fill in the blank makes no sense. But should this arise, you know what you got to do. Document. All right, wage and hour. This has to do with how you pay your staff members, how the amount is calculated. Now, technically, this has to do with wage, how much per hour, right? $25 an hour, and how many hours? 8 hours a day, you multiply. Okay. But you don't want to cross this line with salaries either. There are very specific laws that have to do with how you pay your staff versus what they dedicate to the job. FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act. This is a federal law that states that companies are required to provide, listen to it, unpaid leave to staff members with personal or family health care crises. Now, these are not only crises, this can be happy, as you may or may not know. This has to do with having a baby, okay? Maternity leave. All right. And that is also provided equally to fathers, paternity leave. And that is not necessarily a organic thing. In other words, if you're adopting a child, you also get to have leave to, again, it's, get coordinated, and that's a big thing. Okay. In addition, it might be a family member or the staff member themselves that has a health crisis, such as, God forbid, cancer, or any kind of severe health issue. Now, the law states that this person must be allowed back at the same job or an equal job opportunity. Okay, so it's not that you have to hold the job open for them, but when they're ready to come back, you have to either give them back their job or something of equal, you know this from BOGOs at the grocery store, right? Right. Okay. Buy one, get one free. All right. So this is, you come back to a job that is equal to or greater than. It's kind of a little bit the opposite twist of the BOGO. All right. All right. Read chapter 10. Okay. I don't know that chapter 10 actually covers all of these things in this way, but these are important. They're important for you to know for yourself as an employee, for yourself as the manager of other employees, and absolutely you got to know about it if you're going to open your own business. Okay. And don't be focused on, well, if I don't have more than 50 or more staff members, this doesn't apply to me. Okay. You want to make sure that you cover your bases, because legal issues of this nature are serious and intense. All right. Make sure you finish your homework after you read chapter 10, And as the additional bonus in your course today, workplace safety in healthcare. And there is that link for you that I mentioned before, www.osha.gov. Really great information, both hospitals and outpatient information, depending upon where you're working. Okay. And as always, can I help you? I'm happy to help you. Do you know, I love it when students ask questions. So please email me, ask me your question. I promise you a response within 24 hours. Okay. We are working together to get you ready for success. Hot diggity. Okay.